Howdy. I'm going to stick with the long shot for a minute because I want to talk about some physical things. My goal in this blog is to tell my stories, and I'm going to tell a story tonight. I went to open mic night. I said I was going to, and I did a storytelling thing, and it kind of got me warmed up. But I'm going to talk about one of my goals is to help other transgender people. One of my goals is to help other people understand transgender people better. And one of my goals is to entertain people with my stories. And so right now, since I'm dressed this way, I wanted to take a minute to give a lesson to transgender people. If you look here, from the top up, I look pretty good. From the waist down, I look pretty good. And what the problem is a mismatch between my upper body size and my lower body size. Okay, so these jeans on a much skinnier woman would look great. Okay, this top on a woman with actual hips would look good. And usually I will wear dresses as much as possible to erase that dichotomy between upper and lower body. And a lot of trans people, because they have trouble getting things to fit them, they wind up with separates. And so, you know, I'm going to wear different outfits, and I'm going to talk about how the outfits affect the way that people perceive me. And I didn't want people not to know I was transgender when I did my first storytelling at this open mic tonight. I didn't want them wondering, thinking, etc. about that, and that's part of the reason I dress this way. And if I would have been trying to look my best, I would have worn something, a top with a length down to about here, and I would have had the jeans out of the boots. But this is more the way that other women at the bar in this weather were dressed. And so rather than standing out before the story, I wanted to look more like everybody else. And then I didn't want people to be going, is that, or is, you know, like that. So just real quick, I'm going to pull the pants out of the boots, and I think you'll agree that that gives a much greater, a nicer line there. And I, you know, I don't want to mess my hair and makeup putting on a different top. But you'll see me in a other top I would have worn, or maybe with these same jeans later, that's about this long, that it makes that break go away. And a lot of women's advice is to wear a belt with everything. And if you're trans, I don't think that works, okay? Because it makes that harsh division even more so. Because even larger women are never going to have leg sizes that match their shoulder width. And so you want to have a drape of a dress that conceals that, or if you've got good legs, you can wear a short dress and then nobody's really looking at anything but your legs. Okay, so yeah, I said I was going to take the pants out of the boots, and we'll see. Now, it's not going to work as good as with the bell-bottom boot. Okay, so standing this way, okay, the leg line is one length and it's longer. But standing this way, the way the boot breaks up the leg length, it exposes the fact that my upper body is a little too long for my legs. Okay, all right, so moving on to the story time. It's kind of like the children's stories I used to do at the library when I was a librarian. You know, you put a little lesson in, and then you tell them an entertaining story, and everybody goes home happy. Excuse me, a little taste of the voice I used to use there. Okay, so I can even get up higher than this voice, but not over a sustained time. So I'm not going to try and do it. Um, and then one thing that's interesting that I want to note, that when people see me and hear this voice, they see and hear a woman. When people hear me on the telephone with this voice, they don't see anything and they hear a man. And that's a scientific thing that's called the preponderance of vision. That's relatively important uh, to people that are trying to look their best. Is that when people are looking, and I'll talk later about the different things and how people gender other people, and you decide like that subconsciously if somebody's a man or a woman, and change your behavior from there. And so that, you know, first impression is really important. But when I was working in stores, I would make certain that I never spoke to anybody first from behind, and then they hear, and then they turn around and they're, you know, like, whoa. And so because whatever pitch I hit, I have a timbre that's going to impact and make people realize that my chest and throat are not shaped like most women's, and they don't make that same sound. It's a lot like playing violin music on a cello. The cello can play exactly the same music, exactly the same note, or maybe not a cello, maybe a viola. I'm not that musical. But the little bit bigger than the violin one plays the exact same song, and it sounds completely different because it has a different timbre. And there's nothing I can do about the size of my rib cage, the width of my throat, and of course hormones thicken the vocal cords and make it, you know, the key element, just briefly, is men talk from their chest, and it all resonates, and you can feel when you're talking that way and you hold yourself here, you can feel the vibrations in your ribs. Then you're going to sound more like a man. And when the vibration is up here in your head, and it really is a conscious shift. I can't just go and use the other voice without thinking about it, taking a moment, changing my posture, changing the way I breathe in order to do that. All right, so I really have 8 minutes and haven't even started the story yet. So what I'm going to do with these stories, and I do have a collection of short stories that I can get anybody to publish. Maybe they'll change now that, you know, transgenderism is being more or less of a taboo, and people are able to express their interest in it without feeling ashamed or perverted and stuff like that. So I'm going to send another round of agent queries about my collection of short stories called Trapped in Transition that tells, you know, these stories in writing, which is different than talking them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell some of the stories from the beginning, and I'm going to tell some of the stories from the end, and work back towards the middle. Because things that are happening in my life are going to be impacting other things I say, and you know, my set is going to change real soon, and that's something I want to talk about, a story from recent, but I don't want to go there first. I want to tell the early story, because this is something that people ask me probably more than anything. And just to have patience here, I'm going to change the camera angle.